At 8 o'clock in the evening, the revolving door of the Platinum Hotel kept the cold wind outside at bay, the crystal lamps in the lobby were dazzlingly bright, and the floor tiles were so shiny that they reflected people's shadows. I stood behind the green plants next to the front desk, wrapped in a camel-colored coat. Clutching the newly printed check-in list in my hand, my fingertips were a little white from the force, but my face didn't betray any abnormality. Tomorrow is my wedding with Ethan, and today he said he needed to finalize the process with the groomsmen and asked me to go home and rest first. Now it seems that the process he was finalizing is much more exciting than I thought. The elevator doors opened with a ding, and Ethan walked in front. His black suit accentuating his broad shoulders and narrow waist, his eyebrows and eyes, usually with a hint of indifference, were much softer at the moment. But his right hand was cautiously supporting a woman's arm, a gesture even more attentive than when he had helped me with my sprained ankle. The woman was wearing a beige dress, her hair was loose over her shoulders, and her face was as pale as paper. Her eyes were red, and she looked frail. It was none other than Sabrina, the distant cousin whom Ethan always referred to as just a sister. Ethan turned his head and said to his assistant, Xiao Chen, who was following behind him, "Send Sabrina upstairs to room 3806, ask the housekeeping department to send some hot ginger tea, and get her some motion sickness pills." Xiao Chen quickly nodded. "Okay, Ethan, I'll take care of it right away." As he spoke, he reached out to take Sabrina, but Sabrina leaned closer to Ethan, her voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz, with a hint of aggrieved crying. "Brother Hansheng, I'm a little scared. I was so dizzy in the car just now, and my legs are still weak. Can you come upstairs with me for a while? Just for a little while." Ethan frowned, glanced at his watch, and then looked back across the lobby, as if confirming something. I quickly shrank back behind the greenery, sneering inwardly. Was he afraid I would suddenly appear? After all, he had promised me yesterday that he would not be alone with any woman before the wedding to avoid gossip. But what he didn't know was that I had already checked the check-in records the night before. I watched their backs, my fingertip lightly swiping across the phone screen, bringing up the information I had asked someone to check yesterday. Room 3806, check-in time was 10:15 last night, registered under Ethan's ID, and in the co-occupant column, Sabrina was clearly written. If it weren't for the parking ticket from the Platinum U Hotel I found in Ethan's suit pocket last week, and the help of my college classmate Lydia, who now works here as a guest room manager, to check the check-in records for the past half-month, I'd probably still be at home like a fool, simmering his favorite pork rib soup, waiting for my fiancé to come home after finishing work. Sabrina walked slowly but steadily. I saw clearly when she weakly leaned towards Ethan at the elevator entrance just now. Her eyes quickly glanced towards the lobby. There wasn't a hint of discomfort in her eyes, only unconcealed triumph and calculation. Xiao Chen stood beside him, a little embarrassed, but didn't dare to say much. Ethan was silent for a few seconds, and finally relented. "Okay, I'll take you up, and I'll leave after you drink the ginger tea." Sabrina immediately showed a grateful expression and naturally took Ethan's arm, her fingertips gently brushing against his cuff. The gesture was less like a sister's dependence on her brother and more like the intimacy between lovers. As the elevator doors slowly closed, I emerged from behind the greenery, walked to the sofa next to the front desk, took out my phone, and looked at the photo I had just taken of the elevator. In the photo, Ethan's profile was facing the camera, and Sabrina's head was resting on his shoulder, the angle just right to capture it clearly. I clicked on the recording function again, and what Ethan said, "Send Sabrina upstairs to room 3806, and Sabrina's sweet voice saying, "Brother Hansheng, I'm a little scared," were all clearly recorded. Actually, I felt something was off a long time ago. Last month, Ethan said he was going on a business trip out of town, and when he came back, his suit had a strange perfume scent, the kind of sweet floral fruity fragrance that Sabrina wears every time she comes to our house. When I asked him about it, he said he probably picked it up at a client's company, and laughed at me for being suspicious, saying how could anything be going on between him and Sabrina, who is so innocent. And the week before last, I found a lipstick in the glove compartment of his car, a mauve color, which I never wear. When I asked him about it, he said it was probably left by a client who had been in his car, and he immediately threw the lipstick away, saying he didn't want me to be upset when I saw it. Now that I think about it, how could there be so many coincidences? The perfume at the client's company just happens to be the same as Sabrina's. The lipstick left by the client just happens to be Sabrina's favorite color. If I hadn't been careful this time and asked Lydia to check the hotel records, I'm afraid that at tomorrow's wedding, I would still be wearing a wedding dress and exchanging rings with this man who has another woman in his heart, and making a lifetime commitment. Just as I was thinking this, my phone rang. It was Ethan calling. I took a deep breath, adjusted my tone, and answered the phone. "Hi, Ethan. Are you done with work? I'm still waiting for you to come home." The voice of Ethan came from the other end of the phone, sounding no different than usual, even with a hint of tenderness. "Almost done. Just finishing up the process with the groomsmen and then I'll head back. You should get some rest first. Don't wait up for me, okay? Then take care of yourself and don't overwork," I said with a smile, my tone full of consideration. "Got it. Good boy," Ethan said, and then hung up the phone. I looked at the word husband on my phone screen, and the smile on my lips gradually faded. Obedient. He's probably with his good sister right now, drinking ginger tea and saying sweet nothings I can't understand. I got up and walked to the elevator, pressing the up button. Room 3806. I want to see what they are doing upstairs. The elevator arrived on the 38th floor. The hallway was quiet. The carpet absorbed the sound of footsteps. Room 3806 was at the end of the hallway. I walked to the door and could vaguely hear voices coming from inside. It was Sabrina's voice, with a bit of a coquettish tone. "Brother Hansheng, you're getting married tomorrow. Will you not be able to spend time with me as often in the future?" Then came Ethan's voice, much gentler than when he spoke to me on the phone just now. "Silly girl, what are you talking about? Even if I get married, you're still my sister. I'll still be there for you. But, won't my sister-in-law be unhappy?" Sabrina's voice lowered, sounding very aggrieved. "How dare she be unhappy?" Ethan's voice carried a hint of disdain. "It's already her blessing to be able to marry me. How dare she try to control me?" I stood outside the door, my fingers clenched into tight fists, my nails almost digging into my flesh. So, in his heart, my marrying him was just my good fortune. So, all his tenderness and consideration towards me were just an act. Sabrina's voice came from inside again. "Brother Hansheng, I didn't faint on purpose today. I just saw my sister-in-law's car parked at the hotel entrance in the car just now, and I panicked a bit. That's why I accidentally—" "It's okay," Ethan interrupted her. "So what if she sees it? You're my sister. I'll take you upstairs to rest. What can she say? Besides, she trusts me so much. She definitely won't overthink it." Trust him. Yes, I used to trust him very much, believed every word he said, and believed in every promise he made to me. But now, that trust has become a joke. I took out my phone, recorded another on, and then gently knocked on the door. The sound inside stopped instantly. And after a few seconds, Ethan's voice came out, with a hint of caution. "Who is it?" "It's me." I deliberately raised my voice to make my tone sound the same as usual. "Hansheng, I was passing by the hotel and saw your car parked at the entrance, so I came up to see if you were here." There was a moment of silence inside, then the sound of footsteps, and the door opened. Ethan stood in the doorway, his hair a little messy, the button of his suit undone. When he saw me, a hint of panic flashed in his eyes, but he quickly concealed it. "What are you doing here?" After I separated from the best man, I ran into Sabrina, and she said she wasn't feeling well. So I brought her up to rest. I smiled and looked behind him. Sabrina was sitting on the sofa with a cup of ginger tea in her hand. When she saw me, she quickly stood up with a look of surprise and guilt on her face. "Sister-in-law, why are you here?" "I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. I wasn't feeling well. And I troubled Brother Hansheng to bring me up here, causing you to misunderstand." Misunderstanding. I walked into the room, my eyes sweeping over everything within. 2 cups sat on the coffee table, one filled with ginger tea, the other with red wine. A men's jacket was draped over the sofa, the very one Ethan had worn out that morning, and on the bedside table, there was a lipstick. Exactly the same shade of bin paste I'd found in his car last time. I picked up the lipstick, looked at Ethan, my smile remained, but my tone turned cold. Ethan, didn't you say the lipstick the client left behind had been thrown away? How could it be here? Ethan's expression changed instantly. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but couldn't. Sabrina quickly stepped forward, snatched the lipstick, hid it behind her, and hurriedly explained, "Sister-in-law, this is my lipstick. I left it here when I was touching up my makeup. It has nothing to do with Han Sheng. Please don't misunderstand him. Your lipstick." I looked at Sabrina, my eyes full of mockery. "Last month, Han Sheng came back from a business trip. And the perfume on his suit was exactly the same as what you're wearing today. The lipstick I found in his car the week before last was also this color. And last night, you stayed with him in room 3806. Are all of these also misunderstandings?" Sabrina's face instantly turned pale, her hand trembled, and the lipstick fell to the ground. Ethan's face was also extremely ugly. He took a step forward, grabbed my wrist, and said in a threatening tone, "Grace, what nonsense are you talking about? Who told you that Sabrina and I lived together? Did you have someone investigate me?" "I had someone investigate you." I shook off his hand, took the check-in list from my bag, and threw it in front of him. "Ethan, look for yourself. At 10:15 last night, you used your ID to check into room 3806, and Sabrina was listed as staying with you. This is the hotel's check-in record. Are you still trying to deny it?" Ethan picked up the list, saw the contents, and his face turned completely pale, his hands even beginning to tremble. Sabrina stood beside them, tears streaming down her face, and threw herself into Ethan's arms, crying, "Brother Han Sheng, it's not like that. You and I are just siblings. My sister-in-law must have misunderstood. Please explain it to her." "Siblings?" I sneered, took out my phone, and opened the recording I had just made. "So, the things you were saying in the room just now, those are things siblings should say to each other. Brother Han Sheng, you're getting married tomorrow. Does that mean you won't be able to spend as much time with me in the future? Silly girl, even if I get married, you'll still be my sister, and I'll still spend time with you when I can." "Ethan, listen to this. Is this what you call a simple sister?" The voice in the recording came through clearly. Ethan's face flushed red and then turned pale. Sabrina's crying also stopped, and she simply lay in Ethan's arms, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. Ethan turned off my phone, a hint of fierceness in his eyes. "Grace, what exactly do you want? Tomorrow is our wedding. What good does it do you to make such a scene now? What's in it for me?" I looked at him, feeling incredibly sarcastic. "Ethan, I originally thought we were getting married because of love. But now I realize that I'm just a tool for you to appease your family and cover up your relationship with Sabrina. Do you think I would still marry you? Dare you not marry me?" Ethan's tone became even harsher. "Grace, don't forget, your parents' company still needs investment from the Fu family. If you dare to cause any trouble at the wedding, I guarantee your parents' company will go bankrupt within a month." So, he had already planned to use my parents' company to threaten me. I was truly blind to have fallen in love with such a selfish and cruel man. I took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in my heart, looked at Ethan, and a smile appeared on the corner of my mouth. "Ethan, you think you can threaten me with my parents' company? You're wrong. I will attend tomorrow's wedding on time. But as for what will happen, it's not something you can control." Having said that, I turned and left, not sparing Ethan and Sabrina another glance. As I walked to the elevator, I pressed the down button, feeling not sadness, but a liberating sense of relief. I took out my phone and sent a message to Lydia. "Keep an eye on room 3806 for me. Tell me when they leave, and what they do when they leave." Lydia quickly replied, "Don't worry, everything is arranged. I guarantee to keep a close eye on it for you." The elevator door opened, and I walked in. Looking at my reflection in the elevator, my face was a little pale, but my eyes were firm. "Ethan, Sabrina, tomorrow's wedding is your big day. What you owe me, I will take back bit by bit, all of it." After all, Sabrina didn't faint last night. She was just setting the stage for today's show, and I, too, have long been prepared with a sufficiently wonderful script for tomorrow's big show. At 6 o'clock the next morning, a sliver of light peeked through the curtains. I sat at the dressing table, watching the makeup artist apply foundation to my face, The person in the mirror was wearing an off-white morning robe, her face as calm as a deep pool of water. Even the makeup artist couldn't help but say, "Grace, you look great today, not at all like someone nervous before their wedding." I smiled at the mirror, saying nothing. Nervous? Right now, I'm only feeling the calm of waiting to see a show after returning from the hotel last night. I organized all the evidence, storing it separately on a USB drive and in the cloud. I also specifically asked my best friend Sophia, who works as a lawyer, to come with me today as a bridesmaid, just in case Ethan acts like a rogue, so I have someone to back me up. At 7:30, the wedding carcade sent by the Fu family parked downstairs, the leading black Bentley's window rolled down, and Ethan, dressed in a white suit and holding a bouquet of red roses, walked in with a beaming smile. "Wonwan, are you ready? It's time for us to go to the church." His eyes were a little bloodshot from staying up late, and the lapel of his suit still had the pearl brooch I had personally chosen for him yesterday, making him look affectionate and considerate. If I hadn't seen him with Sabrina at the hotel myself, I probably would have been fooled by this appearance. I stood up, took the flowers from his hand, and said in a natural tone, "I'm ready, just waiting for you." Ethan reached out to take my hand, but I subtly avoided him, picked up my handbag and said, "Let's go, let's not keep the guests waiting." His hand froze in mid-air, a hint of doubt flashing in his eyes, but he quickly concealed it, and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll listen to you," sitting in the car on the way to the church. Ethan glanced at me from time to time and took the initiative to talk to me about the arrangements after the wedding. "Wonwan, after the wedding, we'll go to the Maldives for our honeymoon. I've already booked the best villa on the island. When we get there, we'll..." "No need," I interrupted him, my tone calm. "Let's talk about the honeymoon after the wedding is over." Ethan paused, his expression a little displeased. "Wonwan, what's wrong with you today? Are you still angry about yesterday? I told you, Sabrina and I are just like siblings. Don't overthink it." "I didn't think much about it," I said, watching the street scenes flashing past the window, my voice flat. "I just felt that some things are better left for the wedding." Ethan frowned, wanting to say something more, but the driver stopped the car at that moment. "Ethan, Grace, we're here at the church." He had no choice but to swallow his words, opened the car door, and gentlemanly reached out to help me. I didn't touch his hand and got out of the car myself. A red carpet was laid out at the entrance of the church, and it was filled with guests on both sides. The Fu family elders were dressed in formal attire, their faces full of smiles. Seeing me approach, they quickly came up to greet me. "Wonwan is here, such a beautiful bride." I greeted them with a smile, my eyes scanning the crowd, and soon I saw Sabrina. She was wearing a pale pink bridesmaid dress, standing next to Ethan's sister. When she saw me looking at her, she quickly lowered her head, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her skirt. Sophia came up from behind and quietly tugged at my hand, giving me an okay sign. She had already given the USB drive to the ceremony assistant, just waiting for the crucial moment. At 9 o'clock sharp, the wedding ceremony officially began. The music started, and I took my father's arm. Walking step by step onto the red carpet, Ethan stood before the altar, dressed in a white suit, looking particularly handsome. Seeing me approach, his eyes were full of love, and he reached out his hand to me. My father placed my hand in his and said softly, "Wonwan, I'm entrusting you to him from now on. You must treat her well." Ethan nodded vigorously. "Dad, don't worry, I will definitely be good to Wonwan for the rest of my life." Looking at his sincere appearance, I only felt a sense of irony in my heart. Good to me for the rest of my life? I'm afraid it's deceiving me like an idiot for the rest of my life. The priest stood before the altar and began to recite the vows. "Ethan, do you take Grace to be your wife, to have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do you part?" Ethan looked at me and said with utmost sincerity, "I do." The priest turned to me again. "Miss Grace, do you take Ethan to be your husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do you part?" All eyes were on me. Ethan was looking at me with anticipation, and even Sabrina looked up, a hint of imperceptible tension in her eyes. I didn't answer immediately, but looked at Sophia below the stage. She immediately understood what I meant and gestured to the MC's assistant. I cleared my throat, my voice not loud, but enough for everyone in the room to hear. Father, before answering this question, I would like to show everyone something. Ethan's face changed instantly. He grabbed my wrist and asked in a low voice, Grace, what do you want to do? Nothing. I shook off his hand, my smile indifferent, just want to show everyone what my affectionate fiancé was doing last night. As soon as I finished speaking, the large screens on both sides of the church suddenly lit up. The screens, which should have been showing our wedding photos, now displayed surveillance footage from the 38th floor corridor of the Grand Hyatt Hotel, exactly the footage from when I went to the hotel last night. In the video, Ethan helped Sabrina to the door of room 3806. Sabrina affectionately held his arm and looked up to say something to him. Ethan looked down to respond, only inches from her face. Then they both went into the room, and the door closed. The whole place went silent for a moment, followed by an uproar. Isn't that Ethan's distant cousin? How can she be so intimate with Ethan? They went into a room together. He's about to get married. How can he still be with another woman? Grace is so pitiful. Seeing this on her wedding day, Ethan's face turned pale instantly. He rushed over to turn off the screen, but Sophia stopped him. Ethan, don't worry. There's more exciting stuff coming up. Sure enough, the screen changed to the surveillance footage from room 3806. Lydia had specially set it up for me last night. It's a hidden camera in the hotel room, usually used to ensure the safety of guests, but it comes in handy now. In the scene, Ethan is sitting on the sofa. Sabrina is leaning next to him with a glass of red wine in her hand. The two of them are whispering something, and occasionally they look at each other and smile. After a while, Sabrina stands up, walks over to Ethan, bends down and hugs his neck. Ethan does not push her away, but instead reaches out and puts his arm around her waist. With a bang, the entire venue erupted. The Fu family elders' faces turned ashen, and old Mr. Fu was trembling with anger, pointing at Ethan and saying, You scoundrel." Ethan's sister rushed up and pointed at Sabrina in the screen, yelling, "Sabrina, you vixen, my brother is getting married, and you're still trying to seduce him." Sabrina turned pale with fright, tears streaming down her face instantly. She rushed to Ethan's side, grabbed his arm, and cried, "Han Sheng, it's not like that, it's the angle of the surveillance camera. We were just chatting. We didn't do anything out of line. Please explain to everyone." Ethan was now in a panic. He looked at the images on the screen, then at the angry guests around him and the stern faces of the elders. His lips trembled, and he couldn't utter a complete sentence for a long time. Sabrina and I. We were just chatting." I walked up to him, took out my phone, and opened the recording I made last night. "So, what you said in the room, even if I get married, I will still be with you, that was just chatting too. And Ethan, when you said marrying you is my blessing, that was also just chatting with me." The voices in the recording clearly echoed throughout the church. Ethan's face turned from pale to livid. He reached out to grab my phone, but I dodged him. I took out the check-in list from my purse again and held it up for everyone to see. This is the check-in record from the Grand Hyatt Hotel last night. Ethan used his ID to book room 3806, and Sabrina was the co-occupant. They stayed from 10 p.m. last night until 5 a.m. this morning. "Ethan, you tell me, you chatted in the room all night." "I didn't," Ethan finally exploded. He snatched the check-in list from my hand and tore it to shreds. "Grace, you did it on purpose. You knew all along. Didn't you? You just want to ruin my wedding." "Ruined your wedding," I sneered, my voice full of mockery. "Ethan, you were the one who ruined our marriage first. You were talking about marriage with me while being ambiguous with other women. What right do you have to say I ruined your wedding?" The surrounding guests were gossiping even more, some taking out their phones to take pictures, and others quietly criticizing Ethan and Sabrina. The Fu family elders could no longer hold their faces, and old Master Fu clutched his chest, panting heavily, with the nearby servant quickly handing him a quick-acting heart relief pill. Sophia walked up to me and whispered, "Wanwan, that's enough. If you keep causing trouble, The Fu family will get anxious. I nodded, looked at Ethan, and said in a firm tone, Ethan, I'm not going to have this wedding. This is the end for us. With that, I took off my headscarf, threw it on the ground, and turned to leave. Ethan rushed up to try and hold me back. But Sophia stopped him. Ethan, please have some self-respect. You're the one who's let Wanwan down, so stop harassing her. I didn't look back, walking out of the church step by step. The sunlight shone on me, but there was no warmth at all. Instead, there was a sense of complete relief, walking to the door of the church. I saw Dad standing there, his eyes red. He came over and gently hugged me. Wanwan, it's okay. Dad's here. Dad will take care of you from now on. I leaned against my dad's chest, my nose twitched, and tears finally fell. But these were not tears of sadness, but tears of relief. I finally didn't have to face Ethan's hypocritical face anymore, and I finally didn't have to live in the lies he weaved. In the distance, Ethan's roars and the guests' discussions could still be heard, but I didn't care anymore, because I know this is just the beginning. I will get back everything Ethan and Sabrina owe me, little by little, with interest. 3 days after leaving the church, I sat in the reception room of the law firm, across from Ethan and his lawyer. Outside the window, a light rain fell, the pitter-patter sound hitting the glass. Ethan was wearing a dark suit, and the red blood vessels in his eyes were more prominent than on the wedding day. The look in his eyes held a hint of unwillingness and eagerness as he looked at me. Wanwan, can we talk again? He leaned forward, his tone softening. I was wrong on the wedding day. I've broken things off completely with Sabrina. I know I was wrong. Can you give me one more chance? I picked up the coffee in front of me, took a light sip, and said in a tone as indifferent as if I were talking about someone else's affairs, Ethan, there's no need. I've already signed the divorce agreement. Take a look and sign if there are no problems. If there are any problems, have your lawyer talk to Sophia. Sophia sat next to me and pushed a signed divorce agreement in front of Ethan, adding, Ethan, it's clearly written in the agreement that Grace voluntarily gives up the real estate and savings under the Fu family's name, but retains the 15% stake she holds in the Fu Group, as well as the dividend rights corresponding to the 20 million yuan she invested in Fu's before marriage. These are all legal and compliant. There's nothing to discuss. Ethan's gaze fell on the agreement, his fingers pinching the paper, knuckles turning white. He obviously hadn't expected that I would only want shares and dividends. He should know that the villa in the city center under the Fu family's name is worth tens of millions. Not to mention the savings. In his eyes, I'm probably still the woman who would compromise for money. You just want shares. He looked up at me, his eyes full of confusion. Wanwan, are you still angry? Are you deliberately using shares to get back at me? I know you can't bear to be without me. Ethan. I interrupted him, my tone turning cold. I have no interest in arguing with you, and I have nothing to be reluctant about. The shares are what I deserve. After all, when Fu's was facing a financial crunch, it was my father who provided 50 million to help. The shares I have are what my father exchanged with real money, and it has nothing to do with you. This struck a nerve with Ethan. Back then, the Fu Group was on the verge of bankruptcy, and it was my dad who lent a helping hand. Not only investing money but also helping to bring in several major clients. To show his gratitude, old Master Fu gave my family 15% of the shares. Later, when I married Ethan, the shares were transferred to my name. Ethan's face darkened. His lawyer whispered a few words in his ear, no more than advising him to sign the agreement first, and then figure out a way to deal with the shares later. After all, the Fu family's reputation is already tarnished because of the wedding. If they delay the divorce any longer, it will only look worse. Ethan was silent for a few seconds, finally picked up the pen, and signed the divorce agreement. The sound of the pen tip scratching across the paper was very soft, but it was like a knife, completely severing all ties between him and me. After signing, Ethan wanted to say something more, but I had already stood up. Sophia, I'll leave the rest to you. With that, I turned and left, not looking at Ethan again. Walking out of the law firm, the rain had stopped, and the air carried the fresh scent of earth. I took out my phone and dialed a number. Uncle Jong, it's me, Grace. An old but strong voice came from the other end of the phone. Wanwan, is the divorce finalized? Uncle Jong is an old shareholder of the Fu Group, who followed Mr. Fu in building the empire for a lifetime. He had long been dissatisfied with Ethan's eagerness for quick success and instant benefits, especially the last time Ethan almost violated regulations in order to win a project, but Uncle Jong stopped him. When my dad was around, he had a very good relationship with Uncle Jong. Later, when I took over the shares, I also often communicated with Uncle Jong about the company's affairs. "It's done," I said. "Uncle Jong, I'm calling you to tell you something. Do you think there's something strange about the overseas energy project that Ethan is currently working on?" Uncle Jong sighed. "It's more than just something wrong. That project is a complete pit. The other company has issues with its qualifications and an unstable financial chain." I tried to advise him against it, but he wouldn't listen, and even said I was getting senile. "Wonwan, have you discovered something?" "Yes," I said into the phone, taking out the information I had gathered. "I asked someone to investigate, and the other company was investigated last year for tax evasion. This time, they're seeking cooperation with Ethan to extract funds from Fu's. Moreover, Ethan has already misappropriated the company's working capital to secure the project. I'm afraid the money in the company's account now isn't even enough to pay this month's salaries." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, and Uncle Jong's voice was tinged with anger. "That damn fool, he's treating Fu's like his own personal ATM. Wonwan, what do you think we should do? If this continues, Fu's is really going to be finished." "Uncle Jong, don't worry," I said calmly. "I've already contacted the auditing firm and they will go to Fu's tomorrow to check the accounts. When we have the evidence of misappropriation of funds, we'll hold an extraordinary shareholders meeting and stop Ethan's project. Also, I have several major clients who have worked with my father before, and they have been unhappy with Ethan for a long time. As long as we give them a guarantee, they are willing to continue to cooperate with Fu's, so the capital chain can be eased." Uncle Jong immediately understood my meaning. "You want to pull Ethan down from the position of general manager." "It's not what I want, it's that he's not living up to expectations," I said. "Fu's company was built by my dad and you together, and it can't be ruined in his hands. Besides, the things he's been doing mean he's no longer worthy of sitting in that position." Uncle Jong sighed. "All right, Wonwan, Uncle Jong believes you. I'll arrange for the auditing firm to come tomorrow and make sure no one dares to stop them." After hanging up, I looked at the WeChat messages from Ethan on my phone screen, all apologies and attempts to salvage the relationship. The last message even said he would bring me the Black Forest cake from my favorite bakery. I sneered and immediately blocked his WeChat. He still thinks I'm just throwing a tantrum and will come back if he coaxes me a little. He has no idea that I've already set up a trap behind his back, waiting for him to walk in step by step. The next morning, I arrived at the Fu Corporation building with the auditing company on time. The receptionist looked flustered when she saw me and tried to call Ethan, but Sophia next to me stopped her. "We're here to audit the accounts. Shareholder Jong has already informed you. If you delay official business, you'll be responsible for the consequences." The receptionist didn't dare to stop us and could only watch us enter the elevator. Upon arriving at the general manager's office on the top floor, Ethan was in a meeting with several department managers. Seeing me enter, his expression changed instantly. "Grace, what are you doing here? Who authorized you to bring outsiders in?" "Ethan," I said, placing the audit firm's authorization letter in front of him, "I am a shareholder of Fu's and have the right to request an audit. Moreover, Shareholder Jong has also agreed. If you have any objections, you can take it up with Shareholder Jong." Ethan picked up the authorization letter, his hand trembling with anger. "You did it on purpose. You're just trying to make trouble for me." "Grace, don't go too far. Excessive." I walked up to him, my tone as cold as ice. "Ethan, isn't it excessive for you to misappropriate the company's working capital to fill the hole in the overseas project? Isn't it excessive that you messed up several major clients to fool around with Sabrina? Now the company's financial chain is about to break, and you still have the nerve to say I'm excessive." As soon as these words came out, the surrounding department managers were in an uproar. They only knew that the company's finances were tight recently, but they didn't know that Ethan had embezzled the money. Everyone looked at Ethan with eyes full of surprise and dissatisfaction. Ethan wanted to explain, but the words caught in his throat, and he couldn't utter a single one. The people from the auditing firm had already started taking out their computers and connecting with the finance department to access the accounts. Ethan was frantic, wanting to call Uncle Jong, but found that Uncle Jong was not answering at all. He wanted to call Sabrina again, but Sabrina's side was also not answering. He didn't know that Sabrina was currently being watched by the people I arranged, and had no time to pay attention to him. Around noon, the auditing firm discovered the problems. Ethan not only embezzled $50 million in working capital, but also falsified financial statements, turning losses into profits to deceive other shareholders. I took the audit report and went straight to the shareholders' meeting room. Uncle Jong was already waiting there, along with a few other small shareholders, when they saw the report in my hand. They all gathered around. "How is it, Wonwan? Did you find any problems?" Uncle Jong asked anxiously. I handed them the report. "We found out Ethan embezzled $50 million in public funds and forged financial statements. The evidence is conclusive." After the shareholders read the report, their faces turned ashen with anger. "That Ethan, he's simply audacious. He's used our money to fill a hole. No way, we have to replace him. Yes, get him out of the Fu Corporation." Just then, Ethan rushed in. Seeing the shareholders' angry expressions, he knew he'd been exposed and quickly explained, "Uncles, I didn't do it on purpose. That overseas project just has a temporary problem. Just give me a little more time, and I'll definitely earn it back." "Earn it back?" Uncle Jong sneered. "What will you use to earn it back? The company can't even pay salaries now." "Ethan, stop deceiving yourself." I looked at Ethan's flustered appearance and a cold smile crept onto my lips. "Ethan, now is not the time to say these things. According to the company's articles of association, you have embezzled public funds and falsified reports, which is a serious violation of the rules. We, the shareholders, have unanimously decided to remove you from the position of general manager and pursue your legal responsibility." Ethan looked at me in disbelief. "Grace, you did this. You wanted to bring me down all along, didn't you? How can you be so vicious? You woman, me, poisonous." I looked at him, my eyes full of mockery. "If you hadn't betrayed me first, treating the Fu Corporation as your own private property, would I have done this?" "Ethan, you brought this all on yourself." Ethan wanted to make more trouble, but the security guards had already rushed in and dragged him out. His roars grew fainter and fainter, eventually disappearing completely down the hallway. After taking care of Ethan, I looked at the shareholders in front of me and said firmly, "Uncles, Fu's is currently facing difficulties, but I believe that as long as we work together, we will definitely be able to overcome them. I have already contacted several major clients from before, and they are willing to continue working with us. Furthermore, I will invest additional capital to ensure the company's normal operation." The shareholders breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this, their gazes towards me filled with trust. "Wonwan, we trust you." "That's right. We're counting on you for the future of Fu's." Walking out of the shareholders' meeting room, I stood by the window, watching the endless stream of traffic below. Ethan thought I just wanted a divorce, but he didn't expect that I would directly intervene in Fu's affairs and pull him down from the position of general manager. And this is just the beginning. What the Fu family owes my dad, what they owe me, I will take it all back, bit by bit. Just then, my phone rang. It was Sophia calling. "Wonwan, Ethan just called me and said he wants to see you, and that he's willing to do anything as long as you're willing to forgive him." I sneered. "Tell him I don't have time. Also, keep an eye on Sabrina. I heard she's been having problems with Ethan lately. Maybe we can dig up some more dirt from her." "Okay, I understand," Sophia said, hanging up the phone. On the 5th day after Ethan was removed from his position as general manager, I was in the office reviewing Fu's new season cooperation proposal. Sophia burst in with her phone, her tone a bit playful. "Wonwan, guess what? Sabrina has made a new move." I looked up at her, my fingertips still on the document. "Oh, what trick is she trying to pull this time?" Sophia handed me her phone. On the screen was a photo sent by the person I had arranged to tail Sabrina. Sabrina was sitting in a private room of a high-end restaurant, across from Ethan. She was holding an ultrasound report in her hand, her eyes red, as if she was telling Ethan about some grievances. The note next to it read, Sabrina showed Ethan the ultrasound report, claiming to be 2 months pregnant. Ethan was emotional and promised to take responsibility. Looking at Sabrina's weak and helpless appearance in the photo, I couldn't help but laugh. 2 months, if you do the math, that's about the time she was messing around with Ethan at the Platinum Hotel. She knows how to pick her timing. Knowing that Ethan is down on his luck now, she wants to use the child to tie him down. It's more than just tying him down. Sophia sat down and took a sip of my tea. I also heard that Sabrina has already told Margaret about the pregnancy. The old lady was already unhappy with you because of the wedding, but now that she's heard she's going to have a great-grandchild, she's overjoyed. She's already had Ethan bring Sabrina back to the Fu family's old house. And she's even said that she wants you to give some of your shares to the future Fu family heir. I put down the pen in my hand and gently tapped the table with my fingers. Margaret has a good plan, thinking that an unborn child will make me give in. She underestimates me too much. As I was speaking, my phone rang, and the caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. I answered the phone, and Sabrina's delicate voice came through, with a hint of deliberate flaunting. Sister-in-law, oh no. I should call you Grace now. You know about me and Brother Hanshing, right? I'm pregnant with Brother Hanshing's child now, and the Fu family has already acknowledged me. Those shares you have should have been my child's in the first place, so why don't you hand them over voluntarily, to save us from making things ugly? I leaned back in my chair, my tone as indifferent as if I were listening to a weather forecast. Sabrina, have you forgotten that the shares I hold were acquired with my father's investment back then, and have nothing to do with the Fu family, let alone the child in your belly? If you want shares, tell Ethan to earn them himself, and don't try to get them from me. Sabrina's voice instantly turned sharp. Grace, don't be so shameless. I am now the acknowledged young mistress of the Fu family. What right do you, a divorced woman, have to hold Fu family shares? Believe me, I'll get Hanshing to sue you and make sure you don't get a single penny. Oh, then I'll wait. After I finished speaking, I hung up the phone and also blocked the number. Sophia watched from the side, amused. This Sabrina really thinks she's all that, thinking having a child will make her special. By the way, what are you planning to do? Do you want me to check if her ultrasound report is real or not? No need to check, I said, handing Sophia a document. This was just sent by the person tailing her. Sabrina went to 3 hospitals last week, all to see a gynecologist, but none of them performed a prenatal exam. The ultrasound report she has is probably fake. Even if it's real, it's not necessarily Ethan's. Sophia opened the file, looking at the hospital records and photos inside. Her eyes lit up. Not bad, Wanwan, you've got a good eye for detail. What's next? Expose her directly. Don't rush, I smiled. Ethan is currently treating this child as a lifeline, thinking that having a child will allow him to regain control of the Fu Corporation. We have to wait for them to make a big scene. Let everyone know that Sabrina is pregnant with the Fu family heir, and then expose them to ensure they can't recover. Sure enough. It wasn't 3 days before the Fu family started making trouble. Ethan took Sabrina to a business dinner. At the dinner, Sabrina wore loose maternity clothes and occasionally protected her belly with her hands. Ethan stayed by her side the whole time, introducing her to everyone. This is my fiancée. She's pregnant with my child. The photos from the dinner party were quickly posted online. And the topics of #Ethan's new love is pregnant #heir of the Fu family instantly topped the trending searches. There were also many marketing accounts fueling the fire, saying that I was jealous and intolerant, which is why Ethan divorced me and Sabrina is his true love. Looking at the comments online, I wasn't angry at all. Instead, I had Sophia contact a few reliable media outlets and told them not to speak out yet, but to wait for my signal. Another week passed. And Margaret was actually holding a family recognition banquet, inviting many business celebrities and relatives, saying she wanted to formally introduce Sabrina and the child in her belly. Ethan even sent me an invitation, which read, Grace is cordially invited to celebrate the Fu family's joyous arrival of a son, the tone full of provocation. This Ethan is really afraid he won't die fast enough. Sophia said, holding the invitation and laughing. He actually dares to invite you. Is he not afraid you'll expose them on the spot? Of course he's afraid, but he wants to humiliate me in front of everyone even more, to make everyone think I'm a discarded woman that nobody wants, while he has a new love and child and is living better than me. I put the invitation aside. But he didn't expect that I would not only go, but also bring them a big gift. On the day of the recognition banquet, the Fu family's old mansion was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. And the entrance was filled with luxury cars. I was wearing a red dress, holding onto Sophia's arm as I walked in, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Ethan and Sabrina were standing in the middle of the living room receiving blessings, their faces changing instantly when they saw me enter. Sabrina subconsciously took a step back, her hands tightly protecting her stomach. Ethan stepped forward, blocking Sabrina, and said in an unfriendly tone, "Grace, why are you here?" "You are not welcome here, Ethan," I said with a smile, looking at him. "You sent me an invitation, of course I'm going to come." "What, are you allowed to invite me but I'm not allowed to come? Or are you uncomfortable with me seeing the good things between you and Sabrina?" The surrounding guests began to whisper. Margaret, her face ashen, walked over and pointed at me. "Grace, stop causing trouble here. Han Sheng and Sabrina are doing well, so you should leave immediately." Me causing trouble? I took out my phone and opened a recording, which was Sabrina's conversation with her best friend a few days ago. That B ultrasound report was forged by me for $5,000. That idiot Ethan actually believed it and even said he would give me shares once I get the Fu family's money. I will dump him. The recording wasn't loud, but the living room was quiet, and everyone could hear it clearly. Sabrina's face turned pale instantly. She grabbed Ethan's arm and anxiously explained, "Han Sheng, it's not like that. She forged the recording. Don't believe her." Ethan panicked as well. He looked at me, then at Sabrina, his lips trembling. "Wanwan, what exactly is going on? Are you deliberately framing Sabrina? Frame her." I took a DNA test report from my bag and threw it in front of Ethan. "This is a hair sample I had Sophia take from Sabrina's usual beauty salon last week, and it's a comparison report with your DNA. The report clearly states that the two of you are not related by blood, and according to Sabrina's medical examination report, she is not pregnant at all. Ethan, take a look for yourself. The heir you've been longing for is just a scam." Ethan picked up the report, his hands trembling, his eyes fixed on the words, "Exclusion of biological relationship and no signs of pregnancy detected." His face turned from pale to livid. He suddenly turned to Sabrina, his eyes full of anger. "Sabrina, you lied to me. You weren't pregnant at all. You've been playing me for a fool." Sabrina was so scared that her legs went weak and she collapsed on the ground, crying. "Brother Han Sheng, I didn't mean to. I just love you too much, and I was afraid you would break up with me. That's why I resorted to this. Please forgive me." "Okay, forgive you." Ethan trembled with anger, kicking the nearby table, sending cups and plates crashing to the floor. "Because of you, I lost my position as general manager and became a laughingstock to the whole world, and now you're telling me you were never pregnant. You liar." The surrounding guests all took out their phones to take pictures and videos, and the flashes kept flashing. Margaret, watching the chaotic scene, couldn't catch her breath, clutched her chest and fell down. The servant next to her quickly shouted, "The old lady has fainted. Call an ambulance." I stood outside the crowd, watching Ethan and Sabrina tear at each other, watching the Fu family fall into chaos, a cold smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. This is the happiness they wanted. This is the end result of their scheming against others. Before long, the ambulance arrived and took Margaret away. Ethan, not bothering to argue with Sabrina, quickly followed the ambulance to the hospital. Sabrina, on the other hand, was criticized by the guests and eventually ran away in disgrace. Sophia and I walked out of the Fu family's old house to find a crowd of reporters waiting outside. They swarmed us as soon as they saw us. Sophia handed the DNA report and the evidence of Sabrina's forged ultrasound to the reporters and said with a smile, "To all my friends in the media, these pieces of evidence should explain everything about Ethan and Sabrina." The reporters instantly went wild, snapping photos of the evidence and firing questions one after another. I got into the car, watching the increasing number of reporters outside the window, and took out my phone to browse the online news. Sabrina faked pregnancy. Ethan was cheated. The Fu family's recognition banquet turned into a farce. Topics have already topped the trending searches, with all the comments below mocking Ethan and Sabrina, and some people have dug up the wedding day video, saying they are scumbag and chick. A match made in heaven. Sophia sat next to him and said with a smile, "Now that's great, they're completely famous. They'll never be able to hold their heads up again in the business world and the entertainment industry." I nodded, looking at the phone screen, my eyes turning cold. Ethan, Sabrina. This isn't the end for you. Next, it's the Fu Corporation and the old man of the Fu family's turn, the day after Margaret was sent to the hospital. The Fu Corporation's stock price fell by 5 points. The front desk was swamped daily by suppliers demanding payment and customers wanting to terminate contracts. The finance department's phone rang non-stop, and even the security guards downstairs were secretly gossiping that the Fu family is finished. I sat in the office, looking at the financial statements in my hand, my fingertip tracing the words "only 8 million in liquid assets remaining," and the corners of my mouth turned up. Harold, Ethan's father, and the current chairman of Fu's group, has been taking people to banks and meeting clients every day to stabilize the situation, but those people either avoid him or refuse him directly. After all, no one wants to cooperate with a company that may go bankrupt at any time. Wonwan. Uncle Jong knocked and entered, holding a list of shareholders in his hand. The notice for the extraordinary general meeting has been sent out, except for Harold's side. All the other shareholders have replied that they will be on time. I looked up at him, a knowing look in my eyes. Harold definitely won't come easily. He's still trying to stabilize Fu's group on his own, not wanting me to interfere. What should we do then? Uncle Jong was a little worried. If he doesn't come, the shareholders' meeting can't be held, and we won't be able to announce the change of chairman. He will come, I said, handing a document to Uncle Jong. Have your assistant take this to Harold's office and tell him that if he doesn't come, I'll hand this evidence of the Fu family's tax evasion over the past 5 years over to the tax bureau. Uncle Jong opened the file and his eyes lit up as he saw the bank statements and accounting vouchers inside. You even found this. Harold will definitely come if he sees this. As expected, at 2:00 p.m., Harold appeared in the shareholders' meeting room on time. He was wearing a grey suit. His hair was much whiter than the last time I saw him, and his eyes were full of fatigue, but the look in his eyes still carried some unwillingness and majesty as he looked at me. "Grace, you suddenly called an extraordinary shareholders' meeting. What exactly do you want to do? The Fu Corporation is chaotic enough as it is. Can't you just be a little more settled?" I ignored his questioning and walked to the head of the conference table to sit down, looking at the shareholders present. "Uncles, I've invited everyone here today to talk about the current situation of the Fu Corporation and our plans for the future." Seeing this, Harold quickly found a seat and interrupted me. "I know the situation of Fu's better than you, so you don't need to point fingers here. I have already negotiated with the bank, and I will be able to get the loan in a few days. I am also communicating with the clients, and we will be back to normal soon." "Back to normal," I scoffed, throwing the financial report in my hand onto the table. "Director Fu, stop deluding yourself. The bank didn't agree to the loan at all, and instead, they're urging Fu's to repay the previous 30 million yuan in debt. On the customer side, 5 companies have already officially sent termination letters last week, including the Lee Group, which has been cooperating with Fu's for 10 years. Now Fu's only has 8 million yuan in liquid funds left. Not even enough to pay next month's salaries. How are you going to get back to normal?" The shareholders exploded upon hearing this. "What, only 8 million left in working capital? Director Fu, didn't you say there were still 20 million before? The Lee Group also terminated their contract. What about our orders? Director Fu, did you know about this situation all along and deliberately hid it from us?" Harold's face flushed red, and he slammed the table, shouting, "Don't listen to Grace's nonsense. She just wants to disrupt the Fu Corporation so she can seize power. Those termination letters are fake, and the bank is just going through the motions." "Fake?" I took out my phone, opened a recording, and played Harold's call with the bank president yesterday. President Wang, please be lenient again. As long as we get the loan, Fu Corporation will definitely be able to repay it. What? You can't? What about the previous 30 million yuan debt? I really don't have any money right now. The recording clearly echoed throughout the conference room, and Harold's face instantly turned pale. He jumped up, pointing at me. Grace, you eavesdropped on my phone call, you despicable person. Despicable. I looked at him, my eyes full of mockery, compared to what you Fu family father and son have done. What is this? Chairman Fu, do you think I only found evidence of tax evasion? I took another document from my bag and pushed it in front of Harold. This is the evidence of your embezzlement with Ethan last year. You used Fu's name to transfer 20 million to Sabrina's company and forged a cooperation contract. And this, I took out a recording, is your call with the CFO, asking him to turn losses into profits, deceiving shareholders and the Securities Regulatory Commission. If I hand this evidence over to the Tax Bureau and the Securities Regulatory Commission, do you think you can still sit in this position? Harold picked up the document, his hands trembling uncontrollably. After reading it, he collapsed into the chair, muttering, "Impossible. How could you have found out about this? If you don't want anyone to know, don't do it." I looked at the shareholders present and said firmly, "Uncles, Fu's group was built by all of us together, and it cannot be destroyed by the Fu family father and son. Now Harold and Ethan are no longer capable of managing Fu's group. I propose that Harold be removed from his position as chairman and a new chairman be re-elected." "I agree." Uncle Jong was the first to raise his hand. "The Fu family and his son have disappointed us too much. Grace is capable and has done a lot for the Fu family. I support the candidates nominated by Grace." "I agree too. Yes, remove Harold. We can't let the Fu family be ruined by them any longer." The shareholders raised their hands in agreement. Harold, watching the scene before him, suddenly stood up excitedly, pointing at the shareholders and "You ungrateful bastards, if it weren't for the Fu family back then, would you be where you are today? Now you're actually helping an outsider to deal with me." "Chairman Fu, you can't say that," one shareholder said, frowning. "We're doing this for the good of the Fu Corporation, not to help anyone. What you and Ethan have done has already damaged the interests of all our shareholders, and we can't tolerate it any longer." Harold wanted to continuing, but suddenly clutched his chest, his face instantly turning pale and purple, and his breathing became rapid. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but no sound came out, and then his body went limp and he fell straight down. "Chairman Fu, what's wrong? Chairman Fu, quick, call an ambulance. Chairman Fu has fainted." The conference room instantly descended into chaos. Someone quickly pulled out their phone to dial 120, someone else went to help Harold, and still others were discussing the situation on the sidelines. I stood to one side, watching Harold lying on the ground, without a ripple of emotion in my heart. It's not that I'm heartless, but the Fu family, father and son, brought this on themselves. If they hadn't been greedy and selfish, misappropriating public funds and deceiving shareholders, the Fu Corporation wouldn't be in this state, and Harold wouldn't have met this end. Before long, the ambulance arrived, and the paramedics lifted Harold onto a stretcher and hurriedly took him away. Harold's assistant wanted to go to the hospital, but I stopped him. "Assistant Wang, Chairman Fu needs to rest now. You should stay here and help us complete the election of the chairman." Assistant Wang looked at me, then at the shareholders present, and had no choice but to nod and stay. The subsequent election went smoothly. Uncle Jong, having been with the Fu Corporation for many years, commanded great respect and had consistently supported me. He was unanimously elected as the new chairman. When Uncle Jong took the stage to speak, his tone was impassioned. "Shareholders, thank you for your trust. I promise that I will manage the Fu Corporation well in the future, together with Grace, to pull the Fu Corporation out of its predicament and ensure that everyone's interests are not compromised." The shareholders applauded, and the atmosphere in the meeting room finally eased. After the meeting, Uncle Jong walked to my side and sighed. "I never thought Harold would turn out this way. The Fu family is truly finished this time." I looked out the window. the glass curtain wall of the FU's headquarters building gleaming in the setting sun. They have pushed themselves into a dead end. Harold is hospitalized, Ethan is busy taking care of the old lady and his father, and Sabrina's reputation has been ruined by faking her pregnancy. The current FU family no longer has the ability to compete with us. Uncle Jong nodded. Next, we should rectify the FU corporation properly, and clean up the mess left by the FU family father and son. I took out my phone and looked at the WeChat message from Ethan. He asked me, "Why do you have to be so ruthless?" His tone was full of anger and grievance. I sneered and immediately blacklisted his number as well. Complete annihilation. When they schemed against me, why didn't they think there would be a day like this? I put away my phone and said to Uncle Jong, "Uncle Jong, starting tomorrow, we will start to rectify the company. First sort out the finance and personnel departments, replace all the FU family members, and then communicate with the customers who terminated their contracts before and strive to bring them back." Uncle Jong nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Stepping out of the conference room, the hallway was quiet, with only a cleaning lady tidying up. I looked at the FU Corporation logo on the wall, knowing clearly in my heart that from today onwards, FU Corporation would no longer be the FU Corporation of the FU family. And the FU family had completely fallen from the clouds into the mire, never to rise again. On the 7th day of Harold's hospitalization, I stopped Ethan in the hallway of the hospital's inpatient department. He was wearing a faded casual outfit. His hair was a mess. The red blood vessels under his eyes were more pronounced than before, and he was carrying a plastic bag with a lunchbox in his hand, looking as haggard as if he had aged 10 years. The moment he saw me, his eyes turned fierce, and he rushed over to grab my arm, but he was stopped by the bodyguard beside me. This was Sophia's special arrangement, in case he did something desperate. "Grace, you still dare to come?" Ethan struggled, his voice hoarse. "My dad is still in the ICU, my mom is unconscious, the FU family is like this. It's all your fault. Are you satisfied?" I leaned against the wall in the hallway, watching his hysterical state, my tone calm without a trace of emotion. "Ethan, do you still think I ruined the FU family? If it wasn't for you and your father embezzling public funds and evading taxes, if it wasn't for your ambiguous relationship with Sabrina and treating FUs as your private property, would the FU family be like this?" He was stunned, opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything to refute. In the end, he could only slump his shoulders in despair, his voice tinged with hopelessness. "What exactly do you want? The FU family is already like this. Won't you let us go, let you off?" I laughed, took out a folder from my bag, and threw it in front of him. "Before I talk to you about letting you off, take a look at this first." Ethan bent down to pick up the folder, opened it, and saw that it was full of Sabrina's chat logs and transfer receipts. His finger swiped across the screen, his expression changing from confusion to shock, and finally to disbelief. "This is..." He looked up, his voice trembling. "Sabrina's chat logs with her best friend," she said. "She said she deliberately approached me, and you made her do it." "I didn't make her do it, she chose it herself." I walked up to him and said, word by word, "As early as 6 months ago, I knew she was greedy and vain, and had always coveted the position of young madam of the FU family. So I deliberately had Lydia accidentally leak a message to her, saying that you have secret shares of FUs in your hands, and as long as you can marry you can get those shares." Ethan's eyes widened, and his breathing became rapid. "So, she approached me not because she liked me, but for the shares. What else did you think?" I took out another transfer record. "Did you think she went to high-end restaurants every time she went on a date with you? Why did she want you to buy her a limited edition bag for her birthday?" These were all things she discussed with her best friend. She even said that once she got the shares, she would dump you and find a richer man. He looked at the amounts on the transfer records and then at Sabrina's calculations in the chat history. His body swayed, and he almost fell. The bodyguard wanted to help him, but he pushed him away. Then, the day before the wedding, when she fainted in the car, was that also fake? Ethan's voice held a last shred of hope, as if begging me to tell him it wasn't true. I nodded, my tone without the slightest inflection. "Of course it's fake. I had already agreed with Lydia to put a bottle of mineral water with a small amount of sleeping pills in Sabrina's car. It won't hurt anyone, it will just make them a little dizzy and weak. Then I had Lydia accidentally tell Sabrina your itinerary, saying that you would be going to the Grand Hyatt Hotel that day to meet the best man. Sabrina thought this was a good opportunity to get close to you. So she deliberately drank that bottle of water in the car, and then pretended to faint so you would take her to the hotel. I paused, looking at Ethan's pale face, and continued, she thought she was scheming against you, but little did she know, she was just a pawn in my game from the start. Why did you do this? Ethan suddenly raised his head, his eyes bloodshot. You knew about her and me all along, so why didn't you just tell me? Why set up such an elaborate scheme? Tell you? I sneered. How many times have I told you to stay away from Sabrina? Did you listen? You even said I was overthinking it, that she was just your sister. Ethan, you're the one who trampled my trust time and time again. You're the one who forced me to do this. I took out my phone and opened a video. It was Sabrina in the parking lot at the Grand Hyatt Hotel the day before the wedding, putting on makeup in front of the mirror. In the video, she didn't look weak at all. Her face was full of smug smiles, and she said to her best friend on the phone, when Hanshing and Grace get divorced, I will be the young mistress of the Fu family, and I will buy you a Hermes bag then. Ethan watched Sabrina in the video, his body trembling uncontrollably, and tears finally streamed down. These were not tears of sadness, but tears of despair and humiliation. He had always thought he was in control, thought Sabrina loved him. But he never imagined that he had been a joke to others from beginning to end. I thought she was sincere towards me. Ethan squatted on the ground, holding his head in his hands, his voice choked with sobs. I actually got swindled so badly by a woman. I'm such an idiot. You're not a fool. You're just too arrogant and selfish. I looked at him, my tone devoid of sympathy. You thought all women were like I used to be, listening to your every word and tolerating everything you do. You thought you could play with people's feelings just because you're rich and powerful. Ethan, you deserve this. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. It was a nurse from the hospital. He answered the phone with trembling hands, and after hearing only a few words, his face turned even paler. What's wrong? I asked him. He hung up the phone and collapsed on the floor, his voice filled with despair. The nurse said, my dad woke up. But the doctor said he had a stroke and may never be able to stand again. My mom also woke up, but she was too emotionally agitated and fainted again. I didn't speak, just watched him quietly. This is the end of the Fu family, an end that Harold and Ethan created together. Ethan suddenly raised his head, a hint of madness in his eyes. Grace, did you know this would happen all along? Did you want to destroy the Fu family and me from the very beginning? I didn't want to ruin anyone. I just wanted to get back what belongs to me. I took a document from my bag and placed it in front of him. This is the transfer agreement for the remaining shares of the Fu Group. Your mother has another 10% of the shares. As long as you sign and transfer these shares to me, I can exempt Uncle Jong from the legal responsibility of the Fu family and his son for embezzling public funds, and I can also give you a sum of money so you can take your parents abroad for medical treatment. Ethan looked at the agreement, then at me, his eyes filled with unwillingness and anger. But he knew he had no choice. The Fu family had already collapsed, and he had no chips in his hand, so he could only let me control him. He trembled as he picked up the pen and signed the agreement. The sound of the pen tip scratching across the paper was like the final elegy for the Fu family. After signing, he pushed the agreement towards me, his voice hoarse. Grace, I finally understand now. You were never the woman who needed my protection. You are the one who controls everything. The person I love has always been you, but I pushed you away with my own hands. I ignored his repentance, picked up the agreement, glanced at it, and after confirming there were no problems, handed it to the assistant beside me. Give the agreement to Uncle Jong and have him handle the Fu family's affairs according to the agreement. The assistant nodded and left with the agreement. I looked at Ethan. My tone calm. Ethan, let's not meet again in the future. Take good care of your parents and live your life well. With that, I turned and left, walking out of the hospital. The sunlight shone on me, warm and bright. I took out my phone and called Sophia. Everything is done. The Fu family's shares have been acquired. And Ethan has signed the agreement. A burst of laughter came from Sophia on the other end of the phone. Great, Wonwan, now the Fu family is completely ours. Should we celebrate next? Let's celebrate later, I said with a smile. There's still a lot to do, the reorganization of Fu's, the development of new clients, these all take time. But I believe that as long as we work together, Fu's will definitely get better and better. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the distant sky, my heart filled with peace. This past, full of calculation and betrayal, was finally completely over. I am no longer the Grace who revolves around Ethan. No longer a woman who needs to rely on men. I am a shareholder of Fu's Group, the Grace who controls her own life. The road ahead is still long, but I know that I will take each step steadily and well, because I understand that true security never comes from others, but is earned by oneself. As for Ethan and Sabrina, they will pay for what they have done, and I will lead the Fu Corporation to a new future. Alright, that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We'll keep updating with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.